PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Quinnett. All the lights are currently lit here on track. And it is go, go, go!
Contact through the Mercedes teammate.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Borman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Good evening everyone and a very warm welcome here to season 39 at PSGL. This is PCF4 and we are back with another season, the final season of F1 2024 before we head into the new game. As you can see here, the comms box, not much has changed. You have your same lineup as what you're used to. I'll be host for tonight. My name is Sky, and in here with me, our top dog, it's Max. Well, it's only fitting to see that we start off where we ended. We had a season finale in Bahrain, and we are now back here. Just checking, because apparently you are muted, so we have to fix that. Now you're good. Now everyone can hear
there
me.
we go.
That's what we get from having a different comms box. But now it's all sorted. Now they can all hear you. But indeed, Max, as you were saying, it's good to see that we have a lot of familiar faces on the grid as well, which should bid for a very nice championship fight. Before we look at the drivers, though, I think it's only good that we look at the calendar first, so you can see what we have in store for you in season 39. So now here on the screen you can see our calendar. Tonight we start in Bahrain. Next week we have a race in Brazil. That is one that I'm looking forward to the most this season. March 6th, first race in March, will be Belgium. Then March 13th, that will be an interesting one. On my birthday, a race in China. And then the last race in March the 20th, round 5 in Austria. After that we have a week break before resuming in April with the final 4 rounds, which are Silverstone round 6, Singapore 7, round 8 Mexico, another great one, and then finally our season finale, just like the real world, in Abu Dhabi, April 24th, which is where we are going to conclude our season. Now Max, given this calendar, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I did mention this before stream. I am going to remove the British bias. I would love Silverstone. It is going to be arguably the track I'm looking forward to the most. But apart from that, I am looking forward to round 5. Austria, always a cracking race around the Red Bull Ring. It should be very interesting to say the least. And yeah, that is really at the pivotal moment of the championship, just about halfway into the season. So if you've not really picked up any points in the first few rounds of the season, Austria is the exact place where you need to kickstart your challenge, or you're going to be out of contention before the season's ever really got going for you.
Exactly, that will be the case. So the early rounds, Jules, are important, but also just being there to go for the races, because we saw last season a bid for the championship could have been made by one of the men that we have on the grid here tonight. He is driving in the Aston Martin, Oliver Nutt. He missed out on a couple of races, and because of that was not able to fully launch an assault on that championship. But perhaps this season, season 39, he will do a little bit better. And let us also look at all the drivers that we have this season. So here are our lineups. I'll take you through who is all in which team, so you have a bit of an idea for that as well. For Red Bull, we have Sasha Neep and Steven Vassell. The Mercedes AMG Petronas features Isaac Leet and Kai. The Scuderia Ferrari HP is Tim Tornemo and Tom Roberts. McLaren has JST and Patrick Dackmeyer. Aston Martin is Oliver Knott and Damien Curiel. For Alpine, it's Tom97 and Lewis Welch. Williams, Bogdan Moldovan and Alessandro Finn. For the Racing Bull, that great new livery that we sadly don't have yet in the game, it's Daniel Gottschalk and Lucas Beisner. Kick Sauber has Benny Fabos and Balanalekis. And finally, the Haas squad, Aaron Reiminges and Igor Piasecki. Now, out of those, Max, which drivers do you think we should keep an eye on?
You got to look out for some returning faces. A Bogdan Moldovan, you got Schlacks, also the likes of Kai, and also Isaac Lee in the Mercedes. But also the new faces to the tier, like Louis Welch, like Tom97 in the Alpine, Raminguez, Pezeshki, and Sasha Neeb as well. They're drivers who can certainly put a challenge in for this championship. Tim Tornemo as well in the Ferrari. You need to look out for him too. And as you previously mentioned, Oliver Knott. He is someone to certainly look out for this evening. The drivers have just loaded into qualifying. They're all onto their outlaps now. And the first driver to be coming round for a lap will be I think that is a Red Bull of, if I am correct, no, it's Lucas Beisner. He's currently heading into turn 13, of course, last season. This is where the season ended. We had a lighty win here in F4. Beisner didn't really have the greatest of races, so now with a bit more prep time, got to be looking to try and mount a challenge this evening. So let's see what the Racing Bull is able to do as he's heading out of the final corner. Myth, take us away for the first lap of the season.
Well, let's go on board with Lucas Beisner as he starts his lap. Stays very much to the right. That's something I've seen the drivers do before, is before he hard brakes into turn 1, slightly overshoots. Turning now the left-hander, will have a less than perfect exit heading out to 3 and into 4, which will already be the end, nearing the end of the first sector. Braking hard into the right, hits the apex nicely, comes out nicely as well. Good exit. And first sector time will be a 27.9, so we'll be looking for 27s. He's now making his way through the early stages of sector 2. Good braking into the hairpin. Losing a little bit of speed on exit, and now the most difficult corner of the track. Hard braking, turn that car left, don't overshoot. There was a slight overshoot there from Lucas Beisner. It's going to compromise the exit by about a 10th. He's going to make his way down the back straight before heading left 5th gear. He takes it through nicely. Little clip in the apex, but should be able to take a little bit more speed through that. A lot of curve there. Nicely done by Beisner as he's now at a 104.8. Takes that corner tight. Just stays within track limits. But I think Beisner will know that there's a few corners where he can improve on. Now he's approaching turn 15, but there's a pretty decent banker lap from the man in the Racing Bull. And the time that he's going to set will be around the 25s, 26.1. But I think, Max, later on tonight, we will see some 25s.
We certainly will do. Lucas Beisner having a bit of a scrappy run. And there we go. Igor Pezeshki moving himself into the 25s. The first driver to do so far. But course, now the times are going to be coming in thick and fast. Tim Tornemo now heading up into up to the line in Scuderia Ferrari, 26.3 for him. That was Raminguez heading up into fourth. Louis Welch now coming up to the line. Where can the Alpine driver go? He goes onto the provisional front row of the grid at 26.0, instantly beaten by Balint Nalikis, who then goes into second place. And the second driver into the 25s, Benny Fabos, has unfortunately invalidated on his run. Sasha Neeb is coming up, coming through the middle sector. Tom 97 moves himself into 13th place. There is an Aston Martin of Oliver Knotts now heading up to the line. This is one of Miss favourites for the championship. Where can he go in qualifying so far? It's only 13th fastest, a 26.585. Sasha Neeb now in the Red Bull. He's actually aborted that attempt. He's got full battery and into none mix, so he's going to try and go again maybe, or just pull into the pit lane. No, he's just going to start another run in this session. Patrick Datmeyer has invalidated, so Sasha Neeb is going to be the next driver to be setting a lap time. So now heading down into turn 1. The only corner that is named on this circuit is called Schumacher, and of course named after the 7-time world champion. Through turn 2, nicely done through there for Sasha Neeb. No loss of traction as he heads up the hill through turn 3, and now the run up into turn 4. You've got to try hit this braking zone. Absolutely perfect. Down to 3rd gear. Oh, a bit too much apex curb there. That sent the car into a bit of a slide. That's not really the greatest of runs through the first sector. A 28.414. A little bit off what we saw Baser doing a big slide as well. Through turns 6 and 7, a really scrappy lap time so far from Sasha Neeb, but he's still going to be pushing on for it. That banker up is so crucial, especially around a circuit like Bahrain, where the pressure is on you to not invalidate, and he goes deep into turn 10, unfortunately invalidates the lap, and that is going to be the first attempt done from Sasha Neeb, and unfortunately, at the minute, a 29.326 is all the Red Bull driver is able to do, but most of the drivers now coming into the pit lane to finish off their runs, getting onto a fresh set of tyres, but Isaac Leet and Tom Roberts, they're stagnated to the rest of the field. Let's see what the Ferrari and the Mercedes drivers can do on their first attempts here in Sakir.
Yeah, so we're currently watching Isaac lead. We saw for Sasha Neeb's run how crucial it is to stay off those curbs and to not clip it there, because as soon as you do something like that, the car slides just a little bit, you lose so much temperature, you lose so much traction as a result, and that meant that in the next corner, the quick left-right left-hander, he immediately lost the car. Did manage to collect that car nicely and make sure that he didn't fully go off the road. But yeah, afterwards as well, turn 9 and 10, slightly overshooting that, picking up track limits there. It shows making mistakes is not something you can do around this 15-turn circuit, as we now watch Isaac lead head to the end of that first sector as a 27.9, and it is quite on with the time that we saw Armando earlier on. Let's see, where is our time? That was Beisner, I believe, who was able to do a 26.1. So now we're going to look for a 104.8, as he's taking a lot of risk, Isaac Leet there, just staying within the lines and not picking up any track limits as he takes his way through the left-hander. Will not be held back by any of the drivers here. Just goes through one, but that doesn't matter. And he's at a 104.8 as well. So seems to be on for 26.1, and is going to put him between 4th and 6th place for now.
Yeah, this seems to be a very nice lap here from Isaac Lee in the Mercedes. Of course, was in the McLaren last season alongside current teammate Kai. So, DRS open now for Isaac Lee. Where can he go? And he does go. Just pips his teammate up into 4th place. Nicely done from the two Mercedes drivers so far. We know they are very strong in qualifying. Their weaknesses have been the races over the course of last season, so we're expecting big things from them this time around. Beisner is the next driver to start their now second runs of qualifying, so we'll see what he is going to be able to do as he's heading up into turn 4. Lovely amount of apex curb there. Bring the car all the way to the left-hand side, and that was very nice from Lucas Beisner. Let's have a look at that first sector split. He's actually down on his previous attempts, is still struggling with those first few corners. He's heading through turn 6, 7, and now into 8. Very aggressive, trying to flick the car in to that hairpin. Very easy to lose the rear off camber through turn 8. Now, turn 9 leads you into 10. It's all that setup into that late braking left-hander and a big slide on the corner exit as well. It's been a really scrappy lap from Lucas Beisner in this middle sector. He's very committed through 6 and 7, a little bit wide through 8, and now a mistake through 10, just adding a bit more insult to injury. And again, another slide through turn 11. He's just overdriving the car here, is Lucas Beisner. Let's have a look at that middle sector split. Yes, look at that, 3.5 temps down. Beisner really struggling in this midpoint of qualifying to get the car under control. It is not seeming hooked up at all at the minute. And Basner will surely come in to the pit lane. His teammate of Daniel Gottschalk is still down also on his lap time as well, with 85 hundredths down on his lap time. So for Daniel Gottschalk, let's see what he is able to do in the final two corners through 14. And then 15 is this little kink left. A big slide out the final corner. He also comes in. Incoming into the pits, Igor Pazecki, where can he go as he comes across the line? He does improve. He's on a 25.8. Kai now up into second place. Baylor and Leakies is in the middle sector, but more cars now coming up to the start-finish line. That was Tim Tornimo, I think, going up into 7th place there. And we now see who else heading up to the line. There's a McLaren in all of this. That is going to be of Patrick Datmai. He comes into the pit lane. The Aston Martin of, that was Daniel Carell. Damien Carell, sorry, moves up into 5th place. His teammate Oliver Knott is just heading through the middle sector. He's up by 4 tenths of a second, but a spin on the exit of turn 15. That brings Oliver's Knott's massive improvement to an end. Just pushing too much there, causing him to have that spin. JSD moves himself up into 12th place. Baylor Leakies comes into the pit lane, and that is going to be it for the second runs of qualifying. And for Oliver Knott, it's what could have been. He was up by 4.5 tenths in the middle sector. He surely could have seen himself into the second row of the grid.
Yeah, it was definitely on for a great improvement, but even with that time, was gunning for a high 26.1 or a low 16.2 would still put him around the spot of 11 that Steven Vassell currently holds. Taking into consideration, of course, he doesn't improve that much more in the final sector. Shows how competitive these drivers already are. It's only 3 drivers that have managed to break into the 25s, but aside from that, from 4th, 26.0, all the way down to 13th, 26.2. It's only about 2 tenths, well, realistically 2.5 tenths, and after that the gaps are starting to increase ever so slightly. But I think 26.1s, 26.0s is what drivers definitely should be able to do, and the ones that want to compete for a race win here tonight will need to dive into those 25s. So far, Igor Persecki, Kai, and Balandelekis have able to do so, have been able to do so, and of course Kai, we saw last season make a pretty decent fight for the championship too, although he had to drop out a few races to go. Same can be said about Isaac Lee. He's currently at a 26.1, and let's see where our other drivers are that were in with the fight. Gottschalk was also there, although quite far away. Oliver Knott had a pretty decent run. Bogdan Moldovan was in with that fight as well, so we have quite a few drivers that could still be going for it. But here's for Sasha Neep. He does improve, but it's not enough to break himself away from that final place for the time being. But still, 2 drivers have to settle that time. Tom Roberts has already invalidated. Dagmar is on for an outlap, but it looks like Isaac Lead and Lucas Beisner are on for a lap, with Isaac Lead leading the charge.
Yep, he certainly is. Let's see what the Mercedes driver is going to be able to do. Of course, currently sitting in 6th place on the previous lap. He did pip his teammate for that 4th place. So if he could do the same here on this second run, he could see himself on the provisional front row of the grid. So through the first sector, he's up by 23 thousandths of a second. So a very nice first sector from the Mercedes man. And look at that through turn 6, 7, and now into 8. Very committed from Leeds as he's now heading back up the hill into turns 9 and 10 to the good, straight back down it. Easy to clinch that that front left brake to just lock the car up. He's got a bit of traffic in front of him that could slightly distract him. There's a spinning Tom Roberts and now Sasha Neeb as well, nicely getting out the way for the Mercedes man. As we head into turn 11, down to 5th gear, clip that inside curb, run the car all the way back out wide as you then flick it back over to the left to then get straight into that right-hander at turn 12. Ride that inside curb. He's up by a 10th in this middle sector, so let's see what Isaac Lee can do. So committed, just absolutely pushing the limits. The car looks like it's on rails at the moment for Isaac Lee as he now heads into the penultimate corner of 14 through 15 on the corner exit. We'll see, can he break onto the front row of the grid? Can he pip his teammate once more? Yes, he can. He moves up into second place, only 300ths behind Igor Pazecki, who's come out for his next attempt in qualifying. But Isaac Leet, once again, getting the better of his teammate Kai on that second run, and only just missing out on provisional pole position.
Yeah, that was a really good final sector. As Aaron Ramirez makes it a 1-2 for Haas at the moment. He just managed to beat that time by lead by 7 thousandths of a second. But the man we're currently watching, Balin Delekes, is on for quite an improvement as well. He is up by 25 thousandths of a second. And where this might seem insignificant, it is a tenth quicker than Isaac Lead was at the second sector. If he can nail these final 2 corners, Balin Delekes might be on for a new provisional pole time. So here he goes then, up onto the line. Is it enough for the Kick Sauber to take pole? It is not. He does improve slightly in that final sector, but it's not enough to beat Lead or Igor Piasecki, so it's still P4 for him. As for Igor, he's up by almost a tenth in the first sector alone.
Oh, this could be a brilliant lap time here from Igor, and maybe get it done before we even get to those final runs of qualifying. Now into turn 10, a little bit wide from the apex. It won't affect his run out of the corner too much here. So as he now opens up the DRS as we head down the national pitch straight, the back straight of this circuit as we head into turn 11. Just look how committed he is with turning that car in, and it just follows his lead through that steering wheel. Through turn 12 we go, middle sector split now. Oh, and he's invalidated on the entrance to turn 13. Igor Piasecki was on for a stonking lap. Really got to throw a statement at all these competitors in the field to say, look, you guys can improve, but you won't catch me. And he's unfortunately invalidated on the entrance to turn 13. He needs to get that car in quickly, get it turned round. Is he going to beat his teammate into the pitch? Yes, he is. So he will have priority in getting the car turned round through the pits. Kai has made a mistake as well and unfortunately missed the pit lane entrance, so he's not going to be able to go again. Same with Baden and the Leakies, he surely isn't going to go again. He's still making his way back to the pits, but the third runs are going to, some of these drivers' third and final runs are going to be starting now, and the first driver to be on one is going to be Alessandro Finn, a returning face here on F4 in the Williams this season after being in the Scuderia Ferrari of last. So let's see if this change of scenery can do him any good. Currently on a 26.2, finding a 10th could promote him up a few places. Finding 2 temps could see him break into that top 8. So we'll see what Alessandro Finn is able to do. But has Igor Piasecki just unfortunately missed out on his opportunity for pole position? The next 1 minute and 30 seconds will tell. But Alessandro Finn is going to be starting his final runs of qualifying.
Yeah, it looks like they are just about to exit pit lane. Igor Piasecki and Aaron Ramirez. They will need to hurry up, and they might just have a few seconds left. But just to go back to that lap time, Igor Piasecki was 3 tenths quicker than Balin Delekes through the second sector. That would mean he could do a 25.6 as Balin has now retired from the session. He did not have enough time to go for it. Patrick Dagmeyer doesn't have enough time for it either. But we're going to look now at the final runs. Alessandro Finn's the first one to do so. Will have a little bit of traffic up ahead of him. He will go through that. And in the first sector, he is breaking into the 27s at least. Oh, a huge mistake from Alessandro Finn. And that is his qualifying run over. So we have to go to the next one, and that will be... It's a very good question. Was it Lewis Welch? Might be.
It's Moldovan.
Now let's go over to Moldovan.
He's had a big slide out of turn 8 as Bogdan. He's really struggling with the rear of the car. He's also had another slide through turn 10 as well. So for Bogdan Moldovan, who of course has done so well in the Middle East, especially last season picking up that win in Qatar and nearly winning in Saudi Arabia as well. Not the strongest of qualifying so far. So let's see what he can do in this middle sector split. Down by half a tenth. Bogdan Moldovan really struggling in this qualifying session and is not looking to be on for an improvement and will start currently down in 18th place. Kai has retired from the session, of course, in the pit lane. Not much he can do in his session. Tom97 finishes the session in 15th. Tim Tornimo can't go any faster either. He finishes 10th. So what can Tom Roberts do? Tim's teammate, who's currently not set a lap time. This one's valid, though. He goes 6th fastest under pressure. He manages to break into that top 6. Louis Welsh now coming to the line. He's up by 2 tenths of a second. He snatches pole away from Piasecki, who is still up, though, by 600ths in that first sector. So all eyes will be on him later on in this session. The McLaren now, JST's invalidated, unfortunately. unfortunately for him. Sasha Neeb won't be able to go on with his lap. There's a Ferrari coming up to line. That's Tim Tornemo's car, sorry. So now, let's look at the man currently on the front row of the grid, Igor Przeszki's behind his teammate on the road of Aaron Ramirez, but we'll see what he is able to do. Keep an eye on Isaac Leeds as well. He's down in that middle sector, the Mercedes driver, so he needs a monstrous final 2 corners if he wants to contend for this pole position, or at least the front row of the grid. Salite with a big slide. That's surely he's up over. Przeszki's invalidated again. It's all down to Ramirez. He has his hope in this qualifying session. Is he going to be able to snatch it away from Louis Welch, who brought out a stonking lap in the dying embers of the session? With the pressure on his shoulders, has his only dream. He does snatch pole position away. Aaron Ramirez will take the first pole position of the season with a brilliant lap time in the dying moments of qualifying. Louis Welch thought he had it. He thought he got it in the bag when Przeszki did invalidate that lap, but Ramirez snatches it away at the death. Haas are on top, and it's Ramirez to take the first pole position of the season.
First pole position of the season and the first point of the season as well, going to Aaron Ramirez. What a way to make your debut into PCF4. He was not with us last season, but he's immediately set the gauntlet and showed us that he is one of the men to look out for this time round. For Iga Piasecki, it's just a shame because he had 2 runs that were invalidated, 2 runs where he could have had an improvement, a big improvement there, but not enough for him this time round. Then Max, to be honest, this qualifying session is pretty much the story of the new dogs. Our old guard hasn't been able to show up as much as I would expect to, and the new guys are doing really well.
Yeah, they really are. They really did prove that you can't really get too complacent, especially if you have that experience on your side. The only driver really from last season to put themselves within a pole position opportunity was Isaac Leet. He, of course, lines up 4th on the grid. So it's Ramirez on pole. Quickly run you through the grid here this evening. So it's Ramirez on pole from Welch in 2nd, Przeszki in 3rd, Isaac Leet 4th, Bailey Elkies in 5th, Lucas Basin at 6th, Kai 7th, then it's Tom Roberts 8th, Damien Creel in 9th, and Oliver Knott will round out your top 10. Stephen Fasso in 11th, Benny Fabos in 12th, Tim Tornemo 13th, JSD 14th, Datmeyer in 15th, Alessandro Finn lines up 16th, and it's Tom 97 in 17th, Gottschalk 18th, and then the final 2 drivers on the grid, Sasha Neeb and Bogdan Moldovan. And we're now going to, of course, have a lobby restart to turn the collisions on, and it should be quite an interesting and very close race here, Myth.
It's special, exactly, that is what it's going to be. Well, first, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we will resume to talk about that qualifying session, the first of season 39. Alright, so here we are again. Welcome back to PSGL PCF4, where we just had our qualifying session. Aaron Ramirez has taken pole position here in Bahrain, and what a result he has shown so far. The first point of the season is in his bag, but of course the main points, the 16 points for that race win, will have to be distributed after the race that we're going to see, which I believe consists of 29 laps, if I'm not mistaken, Max.
Yes, it is. Yes, 29 laps of this international circuit.
So 29 laps is what we're going to see. But before we talk a little bit more about the session that you just saw, first a little bit more information about our track for tonight. So tonight we are at the Bahrain International Circuit, 15 turns, 5.4 kilometers, 3.3 miles, with the first race in 2004. Feature a race with 2 layouts in 2020 and 3 DRS zones. One, the section before turn 1 zoned from turn 3 to turn 4, which is still in your first sector. Then we have detection just before turn 9, that is the hard braking zone, double left, and then with the zone from turn 10 to 11, and then finally detection before the final 2 turns, which is turn 14, 15, and then your third zone is on the start finish straight. The final 2 things you need to know: pit lane time loss is 18.9 seconds and it's 336 meters from the start to turn 1, so a decent run, Max, into turn 1. Turn 1 is also the main point where you want to go for some overtakes, although you can do so as well heading into turn 4. But with the main overtaking zone into turn 1, this many DRS zones, I think we're going to have quite a lot of overtakes tonight, Max.
Oh yeah, we certainly are, especially due to how long that main straight really is. Even as you the start finish line all the way to turn 1. If someone gets a good start from, say, either the first or the second row of the grid, we could see them making a lunge on the car in front of them, be that for the race lead or into those podium places. It's going to be interesting to see, of course, as you said, 3 DRS zones. The one up into turn 4, if you can't get the move done, or if you get overtaken into turn 1, don't fear, especially if you pick up the detection zone. You can fight straight back into turn 4, and you could easily see yourself in front and then through that tight, twisty middle sector. Even though turn 11 isn't really much of an overtaking opportunity, if there is a moment on that final lap where the driver behind having DRS is close enough, they will go for that lunge, or if someone in front does make that mistake, they will go for it. So there's plenty of overtaking opportunity. Battery's got to play a big factor. Strategy as well. The soft tyre, surprisingly, I still don't get how on this game, actually wears less than the medium tyre. So it's got to be an optimum soft, hard, soft strategy compared to your usual medium, hard, medium. So it's going to play a big factor on the strategies as well. But we're going to have to wait and see how the drivers face this one. And then the one big factor in this, due to this circuit being so wide and so narrow on some of the exits, track limits is going to play such a big factor in this Grand Prix, where someone could pick up a 3-second time penalty and maybe lose all their points they're going to be scoring just due to how consistent this field possibly is.
Exactly. In the meantime, I'm trying to get into our lobby. Looks like Steam is not having the easiest time doing so. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm able to get into the session. So yeah, drivers are currently making sure that they're getting into the lobby as well. We've created a new lobby, something that maybe you guys are not all too familiar with, but this is something that we do every season. This is to make sure that we turn the collisions back on, as Max mentioned, and that is why we have a break in between qualifying session and the race. Looks like all 20 drivers are in here already, so I think Lewis Welchu is our host for tonight, and for most of our season will be letting us know that we'll start in a couple of minutes from now. So, Bahrain, 29 laps, as you indeed know. The drivers that we were previously looking at for Max, Isaac Leet, Daniel Gottschalk, Oliver Knott in particular, but also Bogdan Moldovan, they didn't show up as much as I would have thought.
Yeah, the only one that really showed up was Isaac Leet, and maybe Kai as well. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get out to do that. He's next run in the session, so there's still a bit more from him, I think, left in the tank as well. So the two Mercedes boys, they did show that the old dogs still have it here in F4. But yeah, especially the two Williams drivers of Finn and Moldovan, they did not really have the greatest of qualifyings, especially Moldovan at the back of the grid. He has got a big task on his hands. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers now face this. Of course, the new ones are going to be used to how the older drivers from last season are going to be used to how F4 works, how aggressive it can be, whereas the likes of Sasha Neeb, your Oliver Knotts, your Aminguez's, your Pasheskis, they're going to be still discovering how F4 really is here in PSG, how aggressive it can be. So it's going to be interesting. Of course, first race of the season, everybody's looking to start it off with a bang. Everyone's looking to kickstart their season the way they want to continue it, but again, it's going to be really interesting to see. And also with Bahrain being somewhat of an outlier circuit in terms of characteristics, this might not be representative of all these drivers. There can be a lot of drivers with this as their bogey track. We saw that last season with the likes of Campbell Adams, who was in the championship fight. He found Bahrain as one of the bogey tracks and was excellent elsewhere. So it's all about how the driver feels comfortable around a circuit. So if they don't score points here, it's not the end of the world. They still have the other 8 rounds to go, and that's where they can be at their strongest. Some of their best tracks on the game. So we certainly could see drivers that may not have the greatest of races, like Bogdan Moldovan or Daniel Gottschalk, then fight back through the remaining 8 rounds of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you really want to make sure that you show yourself as a contender within the first 3 races, and where tonight's race on Bahrain might not be representable for all of them. Next week out in Brazil, the week after Spa-Francorchamps, those are tracks that drivers are all too familiar with, so the ones that won't be too happy about driving in Bahrain, they will be more than happy to drive around Interlagos and Spa-Francorchamps. So then I think we will see the likes of Bogdan Moldovan step up a little bit more, and I think also Oliver Nutt will move up a little bit more in qualifying session. But from this man, we know that he's usually only good in one of the 2, and since his qualifying did not go exactly to plan, I think in the race he'll be making his way up. But yeah, the fights, the tactics here in F4, for the new guys, that is going to take some time to get used to, and for someone who's very familiar with that, Isaac Lead will be a little bit easier. And let's not forget, Isaac Lead was paired with Kai last season in McLaren. They did get the constructor title, and this season they are making a bid for another constructor title, but this time for Mercedes. So the pairing of Lead and I've completely forgot Kai, there we go. Eyes need to focus as well. So for Kai and Isaac Lead, definitely drivers to watch out for. And I think one of the 2, if I have to make a guess, I'd say Isaac Lead is definitely going to end up on the podium here tonight. As for you, Max, what do you think our podium is going to be?
Oh, tricky choices. I'm going to agree with Leak getting on the podium. I'm going to put him in 3rd place, so he's going to finish a place above where he starts. I'm then going to go for... I'm going to go for Louis in 2nd. And then I'm going to go for... This may... I'm gonna go for Brzezinski, Igor Brzezinski, who will take the win here. I think for his teammate Ramirez, he might just make a mistake that drops him down to 4th in the later stages of the races, and he's not able to recover. I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, don't want to wish anything bad on the drivers, but that's what I think will happen. So, yeah, Brzezinski to win it, Louis in 2nd, and then Isaac Lee finishing in 3rd.
Well, yeah, not far off of what I was going to predict. I think we share the fact that Isaac Lead is going to come in 3rd, but I think we're going to see a Haas 1 too. I think Aaron is going to hold on to that race lead, and his pole position will be converted into a race win, and then for Igor Piasecki will come through in 2nd. I think Welch will be either 4th or 5th, but we might see a charge come up from the likes of Kai, but also Oliver Nutt, who I think is going to end up somewhere around the 7th or 8th position, perhaps if he can do a little bit better in the pit stop sequence. But we're going to see, I think, some contact already in turn 1. We are now loading into the game, so in about a minute from now our lights will go off here, where the lights on track might not be fully off. It's very dark outside already, Max, and we're going to have another sunset race, as we do always here in Bahrain.
We are. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. As I say, strategy, penalties, and battery management are all going to be oh so crucial in this Grand Prix. And what do the drivers go for? Do they start off with the soft compounded tyres, try to break away with those, or do they start on those slower hard compound tyres and then reap the benefits of the softs later on in the second stint? It's all going to be a game of strategy, a bit of mind games as well, maybe when it comes to just pre-race. Maybe a driver being on the softs and switches to the hards in the last minutes, or vice versa. But at a minute, it does seem a majority of the grid is electing to go for the white-walled tyres, and only a few on the red walls. I won't give away who that is, though, and I'll leave it a surprise for everybody else. But it's going to be interesting, to say the least. It's going to be a battle that will go all the way down to the wire. And for penalties, if one driver picks them up, it could be the maker of their own demise, and it will really, really hurt their chances of winning or even getting points in this Grand Prix. But it's going to be close. We saw that in qualifying. If that can translate into the race, we are going to have some fireworks here in Bahrain, and it's going to be a brilliant race indeed. But we should be underway shortly, and I think it will be in the next few seconds or so, as it will be Aaron Ramirez to take us away from pole position, the Haas driver looking to convert the first pole position of the season into the first race win of the season.
Yes, and let's not forget, aside from that fastest lap point also being given, pole position point, but here we go, 4 and 5 red lights already on. And off and away we go with a great start from Aaron Ramirez on the outside. Lewis Welch tries to stay in line there, and he's still ahead of the Haas driver for Igor Persecki. The start's not that great because on the inside I already see Isaac Lead having a little look there. A bit of contact with the Haas driver as well, but looks like they're able to keep everything on track. Lucy Patrick Dagmeyer falling down the order a little bit, but looks like everyone is coming through nicely, at least for now. But here we go then. We're now on board with Tom Roberts. Lucas Beisner's there on the inside. Wanted to go for a dive, couldn't really convert that dive. Oh, I see McLaren go wide, and that's a front wing end plate missing for Benny Fables, who's now really going to drop down the order. But aside from that, we've come through fairly clean the first sector. But look at that, Aaron Ramirez already has a 1.3 second gap to Lewis Welch. What a monster of a start that was.
It's a brilliant start, and being the only driver on the soft compounded tyres, he has to get a start like that. He has to be strong out of the gates and be fire straight out of the block. So for Aaron Ramirez, this is a crucial stint for his Grand Prix. He's got to use those soft tyres to their effectiveness. Around about 8 or 9 laps is about how long they usually last before hitting the cliff around this circuit. So for Ramirez, he certainly is going to need to put them into good use. But everybody else behind will be trying to use the DRS just to try and reel him back in. Of course, after the first lap, the DRS is going to be then enabled. So as we cross the line now with Ramirez, there you see the DRS is now enabled. So drivers can now start squabbling with their rear wing open. And the first time they're able to do that is up into turn 4. Louis Welsh has used a lot of his battery to try and keep Aaron Ramirez in touching distance, as JST was looking for a move further back on Benny Farbos. Wasn't able to do it just yet, but let's have a look back at the front. Here comes Pajewski to the inside of Louis Welsh. He's going to try and make it a Haas 1-2 here in Sakir, and he has done that on the second lap of the Grand Prix. It was a disastrous start into turn 1. Had a Mercedes up his inside, turned that around about a lap later, and he's up now into second place. So for Igor Pajecki, he's now looking to try and just maybe let his teammate run free for a little bit and then start to close him back down again and just allow Ramirez just to have a little bit of an arm's reach over the rest of the field. But of course, DRS open again as we head down the back straight for the field, and Ramirez already with that gap to 3.1 seconds. Expect that to continue growing as this race progresses, because those soft tyres, as it currently stands, are certainly the better tyre to be on.
Yeah, around lap 4 or 5, that is when we're going to see that gap starting to either even out or come down slightly, as he's now managing to improve that gap, at least this lap, by about 1.3, 1.4 seconds. But it's very interesting to note that everyone except from Aaron Ramirez is on the hard compound. He is on the softs. This lap round, he's 1.5 seconds quicker than anyone else on track. But look at that, Lewis Welch is coming through on Igor Piasecki again, and more drivers are coming through. He loses 3 positions in one straight. Lewis goes a little bit deep, perhaps too deep, but does stay ahead of his nearest competitors. He's ahead of Isaac Lead and Malin Nalekis. Igor Piasecki will be trying to fight back on that. But with all the other drivers ahead of him having that DRS now, it looks like he will have to stay put for now and can't go for further overtakes. If you look further down the field, the drivers with the best starts so far this race, Bogdan Moldovan and Daniel Gottschalk, 4 positions gained, 3 gained for Alessandro Finn. And the biggest loss is coming out to Benny Fabos, who of course has that front wing end plate damage as well. He's down 5 positions, 7 positions now, as he loses out to Dagmeyer and Tom too. And he's only ahead of Sasha Neep for the time being. Lucas Beisner also lost 3 places. I'm trying to see where some of our other drivers are. Oliver Nutt still put in 10th. Kai has gained 1. Damien Curiel is also up into 7th. Great start from him. For now, I think Isaac Leet and Lewis Welch have to try and stay within touch of one another. But looks like, Max, this lap round, Aaron Ramirez has not been able to increase that gap by as much as he would have liked. I think this is only about 2/10 that he managed to gain.
Yeah, he's not really starting to extend that gap. It doesn't help that he has no battery left in the tank. He's derating down a majority of these straights. That's going to cost him time, and he's going to bleed it, especially down into turn 1. And as you can see, that gap now straight back down to 3.1 seconds. Has Ramirez already used up the majority of that soft compounder tyres? And with that draining battery, having none left in his disposal, it makes things even worse. And it's been contact in the background. That's Alessandro Finn and Tim Tornimo. They've both gone for a spin into turn 3. As there we see now, here comes Bogdan Moldovan to the inside of the Scuderia Ferrari. Who's going to come out on top here? Surely Moldovan will back out of this one. Into 5 and 6. No, he fights it. He keeps his nose to the inside, but wasn't able to get the move done there on Tornimo. He's going to look for it again, but just has to back out of it. And that's allowed Sasha Neeb to now go down the inside. The Red Bull driver, unfortunately, not able to pick up the position. Tim Finn disaster on lap 4:29, a collision at turn 3, ultimately dropping them down a few places. And Patrick Datmeyer, crucially, has lost touching distance to his teammate at JSD, and he has unfortunately dropped out of that DRS range. So everyone behind Datmeyer will not be conjoined to the pack in front, and actually Stephen Vassos has done that as well. He has dropped out of the DRS of Oliver Knott, so the top 10 are going to be breaking away from the field behind. Of course, Daniel Gottschalk will certainly be trying to reconnect that train once he's able to get past Vassos, so we'll see as this next lap ticks by if they're able to do so. But as we head down the main straight once more, we'll see who is going to go for a move at the front. Here comes Louis Welsh. Look out for Baden Alikis as well. He tried threading the needle to make it 3 wide, just backed out of it, thought better of it. But Louis goes deep. This could allow Isaac to now get the run out of the corner up into turn 4. Is he going to go for the move with the DRS? He's got a kick Sauber putting him under pressure from behind of Alikis, who's maybe going to look for it again into turn 4, but no, just sitting behind again. This is bleeding them time to Ramirez in front, as there goes Damien Curiel to the inside of Kai. He's able to pick off the Mercedes driver. He's up into 6th place now, and he's certainly a driver who could maybe throw some hands at the top of this field and maybe just unsettle the top 5 ever so slightly.
Yeah, great race so far by Damien, who's up 3 positions, the most in the top 10. Although once Gottschalk breaks into the top 10, he will of course be that driver. Currently 7 places, gained the most out of any driver out there on the grid. He's managed to get back within DRS range of Oliver Knott after passing Steven Vasso and that previous lap. Vasso just neatly tucked behind him in P12, only losing 1 since his start of the Grand Prix. So we now have grid slot 2 all the way to 13 filled in 1 train, and then Tom starts the 2nd train from 14 all the way down to P20, in which we find Benny Fables. For him, not a season start that he would like to remember, with that front wing emplich still driving around as such, but without a safety car, realistically will be out of contention for points, as we see Isaac Leet and Balanalekis fly past Lewis Welch, and Isaac Leet has now taken over position 2. He is 4 seconds behind Aaron Ramirez. That gap is starting to settle a bit here in lap 6. But actually, Max, Aaron is doing slightly better than I was anticipating. I think that gap is now going to be coming down ever so slightly. But he's kept a nice distance to all the other drivers. But I think that's also because they're fighting so heavily. Talking about fighting heavily, it is Damien Curiel who's managed to get past Igor Piasecki, and he's now up into 5th. The man in Aston doing great.
That was a brilliant move from Damien. He put Igor under pressure into turn 4, made the Haas driver go deep, get the switch back through 5 and 6 on the 6 and 7, sorry, on the inside, and gets the move done just like that on the brakes into turn 8. Tom Roberts has just done the same to Kai, put him under some pressure into turn 10, then was able to get the move done on corner exit. But yeah, with Ramirez, it was mainly just due to the fact that Lee and Alikis were just sitting behind Louis for a good 2 or 3 laps, and that allowed him to somewhat extend as they all congested up behind him, and he's able to extend that gap now to 4 seconds at the front of this field. So we'll see how long he can keep that for, and how long he can keep those soft tyres within working range for over the next few laps. So once again, we head down this main straight. We DRS open for Bailey and the Leakies. He's got to look to this, get past Isaac Leach. Surely, yes, he is. There he goes to the outside line, and he moves up into second place for the first time in this Grand Prix. Lucas Bays now looking for a move on Kai. He's managed to get the move done and contact further back. That sent Gottschalk spinning, sorry, and I think that was contact with Stephen Faso. So unfortunately for Gottschalk was collected by the Red Bull driver who went late on the brakes and got sent into a spin and is now down into 16th place. And he's battling with Alessandro Finn, and Sasha Neeb has also gone straight on here at turn 4. It's unfortunate for the Red Bull driver, so it seems a lot of collisions happening on lap 7 and a few drivers just making those crucial errors at this stage of the race, just battling too aggressively. And now for Stephen Vasso, he is going to be under a bit of pressure from the stewards, as now we see Bain and the Leakies up into second place trying to catch up to Raminguez.
Yeah, it looks like Gottschalk had a massive desync because he was just ahead of Alessandro Finn, now about 6 seconds behind. So that is quite a desync that you would not like to see whatsoever. But yeah, he with Alessandro Finn, they caught Sasha Neeb in a bit of a sandwich. That sent Sasha Neeb off. But it's good that there was a little bit of ghosting going on there, because if it wasn't, that would have ended in a bit crash and perhaps a safety car. But further up ahead, Ballon de Lekkies is taking a huge chunk out of that gap from Aaron Raminguez. This was 3.8, 3.9 seconds at the start of the previous lap. Now 3.2 seconds at the start of lap 8. So within a few laps, they're going to be approaching a striking distance of all the other drivers. But for Aaron, the good thing that he has is we'll be able to finish the race on the hard set of compounds. I think around the final few laps, he will have a slight advantage over his competitors that will be on the mediums, but he will need to make a gap early, and we'll have to try and make sure that he stays ahead by quite a margin. He's gone for a very aggressive strategy, but if he can make it work, we will only know in the final few laps once we get there. As for Oliver Knott, the man who was fighting for the title last season, is still within that DRS window of Ballon de Lekkies in second, but still finds himself in P10 with not a single overtake made yet.
Yeah, Oliver Knott just not being able to make any progress in this Grand Prix so far. But in that first stint, you don't really have to make too much progress. It's that second stint where it becomes a lot more aggressive, and drivers will be going for moves that you may not see early on into Grand Prix. So it'll be a bit more riskier with things and get the job done and make their way up the order. So that is going to be crucial for Oliver Knott in that second stint to start being a bit more punchier, start going for some maybe some dives to the inside or even the outside to try and get some moves done. So Aaron Raminguez has actually come into the pit lane. So 8 laps is as long as the softs would last, and he is now coming to a pit for the fresh set of hards. As here comes Isaac Leach to take the race lead away from Baden Leakies. And look at that, Damien Carell with a move to the inside. What a lunge that is from the Aston Martin driver, who's able to pick that one off. But no, Louis just able to stay in front, but now it puts him under pressure from Igor Pajewski behind. But Curiel just going to be able to keep that 4th place for now. But that was an audacious send to the inside line, and the Aston Martin driver nearly made it work, but Louis was just a bit more bolder on the brakes. Knew he had the runoff to that outside and had that bit more room to just go a little bit hotter into, and was able to make it work. Did actually tap the back of Bain and the Leakies for second place there, as that's actually dropped him time to Isaac Leach in front of him, and Tom Roberts is now looking for a move on Igor Pajewski. That was really close and really hairy to the inside line, and Tom just having to sit behind once again. So many drivers going to be looking for moves now as they've seen Raminguez come into the pit lane, and Tom Roberts, who we saw put Kai under pressure, who put Lucas Baisner under pressure as well. He is making his way up the order. Brilliant race pace so far from the prancing horse, and is now knocking on the door of the top 5.
Knocking on the door, the top 5 indeed is our Ferrari man, but just further up ahead, Damien Curiel in P4th with that Aston Martin. I think he'll be eyeing an overtake onto Lewis Welch, but behind him, Igor Piasecki, not too far away from him either. Let's go on board with our Aston Martin driver. He went for a send into turn 1 last time around. He's using a little bit of battery this time. He wants to go via the outside, and it looks like our Alpine driver has to hold back a little bit. Now he will be on the inside. Side by side they go, but he will need to tuck behind at least for a little bit. Can he go round the outside this time? It looks like some defense is coming in from Lewis Welch, and it won't be a reason for Damien to overtake, but down the inside is Igor Piasecki, and he's ahead.
Brilliantly done there from Igor. Capitalised on an opportunity in front, saw the door open and barged straight through it. Brilliantly done from the Haas, and now here comes Tom Roberts to try and get past Damien Curiel as well. Is he going to be able to do that? He's got a full tank of battery at his disposal. He's going to look to the inside line. That's a very late lunge from Tom Roberts. If he's able to pull that one off, that would be a magnificent move into turn 10. Really hot on the brakes. So much confidence in that Ferrari to send the car to the inside, but once again, just with that tighter exit off the corner, not able to pick up a position once more. That time it was on the Aston Martin Damien Curiel, but he can still have another opportunity later on in this Grand Prix. We're on lap 10 of 29 here in Sakir, and Aaron Menguez is nearly caught up to the back of Benny Fabos already. So we then head through the final corner with the front runners. Will Bailey the Leakies now go for a move, or will Louis Welsh try and capitalise on the kickstart being stuck behind the Mercedes for now? Isaac Leap then pulls to that left-hand side. Balin looking to the inside, just backs out of it ever so slightly. Tom Roberts nearly into the back of Damien. He had to really jink out under braking there to make sure he got the car slowed down in time, and isn't going to be able to get a move done up into turn 4. Pajewski all over the back of Louis. Louis all over the back of Balin, but still no moves being made. Leaky goes a little bit wide, but still Welch is sitting behind in his Alpine, just saving that battery. I think we're going to see another 3 or 4 laps of this before it all starts to kick off for track position, but they've also got to be wary of Aaron Ramirez on those fresh hards. He can get a nice buffer here if he's able to put that outlap and that fresh clean air into good use. He's now coming up to the back of Gottschalk and Fabos, so he will get into a little scrap with those drivers, but still, this could be a crucial phase of the race for Aaron Ramirez, and this could give him a good 5 or 6 second lead once these drivers come in for their soft compounder tyres.
Yeah, for Aaron Ramirez now, the most important thing is to clear the 2 drivers ahead as quickly as he can, preferably on the main straight, because now here on the back straight, he is going to get DRS to get closer to the back of Gottschalk and Benny Fabos, and then on the main straight should go for the overtake on them both to not lose as much time and use his ERS where he so desperately needs to. The good news for him is that one of the drivers he has to overtake will not have DRS. The other driver will have it, but he will be so close behind that it should not matter too much. But before we switch over to that, we are still at the front of the grid, where we see everyone packing up tightly behind our race leader. And round the outside, Igor Piasecki wants to make a move onto Lewis Welch, and he's barging his way through, pushes the Alpine driver slightly off track. He's gone past, and now Damien Curiel will be on the inside for turn 4, is on the inside, keeps it on the inside, and does he get it past? There's a little bit of contact, but he's through as well. Your Alpine driver's set back 2 positions. Your Aston is back into P4, and now here comes Aaron Ramirez on the outside of Benny Fabos. Will need to clear them. There's a bit of contact with the drivers in the back, and Aaron Ramirez is still stuck behind Benny Fabos and Daniel Gottschalk.
Disaster for Ramirez, who'll be a net race leader when he comes into the pit lane. Louis Welch just tried going to the inside of Damien Curiel into turn 10. Weren't able to get the move done. That dropped him a little bit off Igor Piasecki in front, but luckily not much damage being made to their overall challenges. There's Ramirez again to the inside of Benny Fabos, but again, not able to get the move done. This is crucial for this battle for the race lead. Ramirez being stuck in traffic could just unravel his race, and he's now into the back of the Kick Sauber as well. The Haas driver struggling to get by these drivers at the back of the field on those fresher tyres. He's now looking to the outside through turn 13. There's contact. Fabos sent into a half slide, and unfortunately for the Haas driver, that is surely going to be a steward's inquiry coming his way from Fabos. But as you can see, further up at the front of the field as they all went down this main straight, Curiel now up into third place. He was able to get past Brzeski. Tom Roberts has dropped down not only behind Kai, but also JSD as well. Louis Welch has to stay into fifth place. Here comes SD to the outside line of Kai. Is he going to be able to get this one done late on the brakes? The McLaren driver moving himself up through the field. He's been a driver who's very sneakily fought his way further up. He is now up 8 places in this Grand Prix. JSD with a brilliant race so far, and he really has been chipping away at it one by one. He's now up into the top 6 and threatening that top 5 in front. Could we say JSD now have a challenge at the front of the field and maybe throw his hand in this twist in the tail? But Isaac Lee still leading the way like he has done for pretty much the whole stint since Aaron Ramingas came into the pit lane, and he's probably going to lead it just for a little bit longer as we head down that main straight once more within the next few corners.
Yeah, it looks like Aaron Ramingas has lost a good 2 seconds behind Daniel Gottschalk and Benny Fabels. Took him an awful lot of time to try and get past. A little bit of contact as well, as you mentioned, rightfully so. There might be a steward's inquiry into that, so even if he does manage to win the race here tonight, he could be facing a steward's inquiry, and that might set him back a couple places if that appeal turns out to be successful. But of course, before that, he first has to win the race as well, because that time loss is not going to work in his favor. But look at that, around the outside is your Aston Martin driver. Damien Curiel is now in the race lead here in Bahrain in lap 14 of 29. Balandalekis is just behind him. Down the inside comes Igor Piasecki. He wants to go for second, but he will have to settle, I think, at least for now. They go side by side, though. Can Igor Piasecki still take it through? No, he stays behind wisely. Settles for third, at least for now, as JSD still in 6. Wow. Do I say so? He was for a moment. He's gone through 2 drivers. He's passed Louis Welch and Kai, and Isaac Lee just picked up a penalty, and he's dropped down the order significantly.
Oh my! Disaster at the front of the field. Isaac Lee being clipped by Louis Welch. I didn't see it too clearly. I was on board with Isaac, so I just saw the contact and just the car spearing off to the right-hand side. But there was contact between him and Louis, which then caused him to just slide to the right and then cut across the corner and drop him to the back of this field. And I think that was purely just a racing incident. There was Louis still on the outside, and Isaac, just with the natural understeer, came across the front of the Alpine, and there was nothing really either driver could do. So, disaster for Isaac Lee, who was leading this race just 1 lap ago, now down into 11th. He's lost 10 places in 1 lap. Here comes Baden Leakes and Igor Pazeshki, and also JSD's now hit the top 3 maybe as he's going around the outside of Damien Corral. As there's Igor Pazeshki on the inside of Leakes, but he's not able to get the move done. But he's gone for the run. Has the Haas driver up the hill. He's got the DRS as well. It's all kicking off at the front of the field now, as there goes Igor Pazeshki up into the lead of this Grand Prix. Damien Corral trying to fight back against the kick Sauber as well. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? No, he is not, with JSC just having to slot in behind as well. But for Igor, he's now hit the front of the field once again. Balin having to sit into second place, but it's all kicking off here at the top, at the forefront of this train. Lap 15 of 29, it's all kicking off. We'll see the drivers into the pit lane within the next 2 or 3 laps or so, as we now see Louis Welch all over the back of JS. He's also under some pressure from Tom Roberts too, who, may I add, did drop down to about 9th place 2 laps ago. He's back up into 6th, so it just shows how much chaos has gone in over these past few laps, as Tom Roberts is back up into 6th. Igor Pazeshki up into the lead, and JSC having a brilliant race, up 9 places now into 4th, and now looming large in the mirrors of the Aston Martin in front.
Yeah, and just going back to a provisional race leader, that's of course Aaron Ramingas, who is now in 18th, but the only driver that's made a pit stop. He's only managed to cut down about 1.3 seconds in about 2 laps time on driver up ahead Alessandro Finn, who started on those hards. So there's an offset of about 14 to 15 laps. I believe it's 14 laps, and he is not really able to make the most of it, and that is because the drivers up ahead have DRS, and that really is going to hurt Aaron Ramingas, because nobody else has a strategy, doesn't have the advantage of having the DRS pool, and he lost about 2 seconds behind Gottschalk and Fabels. As soon as the other drivers are going to make a pit stop, I think around 4, maybe 4.5 seconds, they're going to come out behind Aaron. I think very shortly they'll be able to close that gap due to the fact that they will be able to play a DRS game, where Aaron will not be able to do so. So hopefully for him, his strategy doesn't fall in the water, but at the moment, Max, it's not looking too great for Aaron Ramirez.
No, not at all. It is not looking good for the man that started on pole position, went on that alternate strategy, and is now trying his best to fight his way back through the field. He will have a good buffer when he comes out, when the drivers come out of the pit lane, though, on those softs. But will it be enough? As they do have the DRS behind, they've just not got to battle too aggressively if they want any chances of closing down that Haas driver. It's all going to be about, it's basically a 19 versus 1 in this Grand Prix. Everybody else on the same strategy, except from Ramirez. He has been the rogue soldier, and he is the odd one out of this field. So then exit out of the penultimate corner, and now the final corner to go down the main straight for what will start the lap, 17th lap of this Grand Prix. There is Vaso and also Kai into the pit lane. They have triggered the undercut. They have jumped the gun. They've pulled that trigger as Isaac Lee now moves past. Lucas Baisner for 7th place. JSD and Louis Welch squabbling over 4th place. There's a little bit of contact, but luckily neither car has been speared off into the wall as they go side by side up into turn 4. Who will come out on top? JSD on the outside line. Welch on the inside. Surely the Alpine will get the run out of the corner. He does, and he moves up into that top 4 once again. It's been the struggles of this race for the Alpine. Caught up in some incidents, being forced wide multiple times, but he's now back up into that top 4 as Vaso, Kai and Oliver Knott all come in for the soft compounder tyres. They have now come out, and they're quite a way behind Ramirez. So it is now the hunter becomes the hunted, and we'll see what the drivers in front of the likes of Vaso and Kai will do now. They've just triggered the undercut, so expect everybody into the pit lane in front of them this lap.
Yeah, I expected the gap to be a lot closer, and actually is they're 13 seconds behind Aaron Ramirez, and I believe Vaso was about 2.5 to 3 seconds behind the drivers up ahead. So if they go into the pit lane, based on that, they should come out behind Aaron Ramirez about 10 seconds. So right around the mark where Benny Fabos is currently. So let's hope Benny won't be in the way for them at all. But let's see, is anyone going to dive into the pit lane, or are some going to stick it out? Looks like most of them are going to stay out, actually. It's Balandelekis and JSD and Isaac Lead who've come in. All the other drivers are staying out for an extra lap, and I think that is because they know they need to clear Benny Fabos, and if they make a pit stop now and Benny stays out, they're going to have to deal with him later down the line, and that is going to hurt their chances significantly. Let's go look at Benny Fabos, because they should come around that mark. Actually, not at all. What on earth happened with the pit stop of Steven Vassell then? Because look at that, Balandelekis comes out ahead of Kotchak even. So the gap to Ramirez is not 10 seconds, it's more or less 6 seconds, and he was right up there with Igor. So they've managed to time their pit stops well, and with the other drivers, they should come around just around the edge of where Gottschalk currently is. But the fight now really on to reel Aaron Ramirez in, but on those mediums, having, of course, the softs even that Balandelekis is on, they will be able to play DRS. Yeah, I think they're going to reel in Aaron Ramirez in a couple of laps.
Yeah, I think they will do too, but crucially in this, they're now going to have to do at least 11 laps on this soft compounder tyre, and that is going to be oh so crucial, as Corral was able to hold off Tom Roberts down through turn 13 as we head now down the hill into the final corner. Will the rest of the field come into the pit lane now? They've seen how the other drivers have come out in this pit stop situation. Yes, everybody but Corral and Pajecki do. They're going a little bit longer, and Welch picks up a 10-second time penalty. Crucial for the battle for the race lead. Louis Welch picks up 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. The Alpine man, unfortunately, suffering a severe consequence of just maybe going 1 or 2 miles per hour over, and unfortunately that is going to demote him out of the fight for this race lead, and Damien Corral now takes the race lead away from Igor Pajecki, and we're going to see these two drivers now squabbling away at the front of the field, and they're extending long to try to get as minimum time on those soft compounder tyres as possible. And while everybody else's soft tyres have hit the cliff, they'll still have that little bit of life
in their tyres as JSD now moves up into the front runners of those soft compounded tyres. And that gap between Ramirez and SD, it was 5 seconds just a lap ago. It's now 3.5. That just shows the pace of this soft compound tyres. Those 1 lap old softs to the 10 lap old hards. And for Aaron Ramirez, it's been a valiant effort, but I think this is just a little bit of doom and gloom here for the Haas driver, and he's just going to have to accept his fate. He's tried the alternate strategy. It's not worked. Being held up in traffic hasn't helped him either, but the alternate strategy has not played into the hands of today's pole sitter, Aaron Ramirez.
Yeah, perhaps towards the end of the race, he will have the better end of the stick still, because his tires are going to be better than those softs that it will be on 10, 11, or 12 laps running, as his hards of 20 laps should do a little bit better. He's now awfully close to the back of Tim Tornimo. We'll need to clear him as soon as possible, because JSD is only 2.3 seconds behind. That gap just a moment ago was 3.5. How many overtakes can Aaron Ramirez make? He needs to make as many as possible, but looks like he's only able to clear 2 for now. Will be behind the Red Bull of Sasha Neep, but the good thing is here he can get a second DRS, can go for the overtake here smoothly, now has the race lead once again, but in the back we already see him looming. Balandelekis has now overtaken JST, and he will be next in line to go for the overtakes. But before the next DRS Sol Max, they are going to be caught up with Alessandro Finn, Tim Tornimo and Sasha Neep, overtake them, and then the fight, the real is on for Aaron Ramirez, who leads the race now, but will need to quickly get a second between him and the rest. But I think he won't be able to do so, and see the soft runners come back in his rearview mirrors.
Yeah, he certainly will. It's been a valiant effort so far from Ramirez. Lap 20 of 29. Unfortunately, he's going to have to see that fade as Finn actually goes wide, probably just to allow Alikis and also JST through. He doesn't want to squabble them too much in this race and lose too much time to the likes of Neeb and Tornimo. These drivers, of course, that have stayed out on those hards are certainly looking for a safety car. So then, we see Balin Alikis get within the mirrors of Tim Tornimo, and Sasha Neeb is actually still over the back of Aaron Ramirez, so we could see the Haas driver drop behind the Red Bull, as there we see now Balin Alikis putting out to the left-hand side of Tim Tornimo. Neeb is looking for a move further up on Aaron Ramirez, not able to get it done, but just look at the closing speed on the brakes as well that these drivers on the softs do have. Alessandro Finn did come into the field, that's why, into the pit lane, sorry, that's why he's dropping down the field, but now we see Balin Alikis attacking the back of Sasha Neeb. He needs to look out from behind as well. JSD is surely just going to sit behind him and just help these fellow soft runner through Sasha Neeb, and then the squabbling will commence when they're on the back of Aaron Ramirez. But crucially, this is bringing the rest of the field into play. Tim Tornimo under pressure from Louis Welch in front, behind him. Sorry, there goes Balin Alikis to the outside. It'll be the outside through turns 9 and 10 of Sasha Neeb, and he's managed to pull that move off really nicely. And now he's on the back of Aaron Ramirez, your race leader. And unfortunately, this valiant effort, this valiant attack on these hard compounded tyres, the alternate strategy, the riskier strategy, hasn't worked in the hands of the Haas driver, and within the next few corners or so, his race-winning hopes will be swirling down the drain, and unfortunately will be lost in the desert here in Bahrain, as Louis Welch has been able to get past Sasha Neeb, same with Tom Roberts. But now we look at the front of the field and watch Aaron Ramirez, the man who started on pole, and we watch his race lead and race winning hopes just fade away into the sunset.
Yeah, the main thing that Aaron Ramirez now needs to do is stay within striking distance of all the other drivers. He can let a few by, but he shouldn't let more by than just JSD and Balandelekis as he does now. Needs to stay put around third and try and make a bid for a real fight towards the end of the race. But now that we've had pretty much all our pit stops except for Sasha Neeb, I think it's time to look at all the penalties that we have, so we know how that's gone down. Actually, Tim Tornimo hasn't made a stop either, but let's have a look. Penalty-wise, 3 seconds, Isaac Lead, Sasha Neeb, Alessandro Finn, Daniel Gottschalk, Benny Fables. 10 seconds for a pit stop infringement, speeding in the pit lane for Louis Welch, so he won't be able to score some great points here tonight. Same can be said about Isaac Lead, and Sachin, of course, is going to drop down the order even further later on. As for tires, Aaron Dominguez is on 13 lap old hards, the drivers around him 3 lap softs, 4 lap softs, but Igor Piasecki and Damien Curiel, they are on 2 lap old softs, so maybe towards the end of the race they will have a slight advantage, but they'll need to make their way up the order just a little bit more. As for Dominguez, he's already lost out to 4 soft runners, really needs to make sure now that is not going to be 5, but seeing the gap increase further ahead of him, he is struggling.
He certainly is. Those soft runners are just too fast at this stage of the Grand Prix, and with less fuel in the tank as well, those tyres will not be degrading as quickly as we saw them at the start of this race. There goes JSD to the inside of the outside of Balin League. He's getting that move done. Dominguez now jumping behind Lee, and now his teammate. And here we see Damien Correa with the move to the inside, late on the brakes once again. We like this Aston Martin driver, extremely confident we're going late on the brakes. Doesn't always seem to get the move done though, but as he gets the run up into turn 4, surely this time around, as he goes late on the brakes to be able to get past the Haas. Yes, he is. There he goes up into 7th place, and now hunting down Igor Piasecki in front. Of course, these 2 drivers on the youngest of those soft compounded tyres, and now going to be looking to get their way past Isaac Leet in front of them as well. Of course, Leet and Welch both having those penalties in front removes them from this race winning contention, but the likes of Roberts, Piasecki, Curiel, Alikis and JSD all looking to try and win this one. And for Esty, it has been a brilliant drive from the McLaren driver. He started in 14th place. He's up 13 places in this Grand Prix and is looking to take the first race win of the season. So we'll see what the McLaren driver is going to be able to do as Bogdan Moldovan gets past Tim Tornimo in the background for 14th place. But for JST, knocking on the door of an absolute masterclass in the first round of the season. But he just needs to try and get himself into that prime position on the final lap. You don't want to be leading heading on to lap 29. And unfortunately for Esty, it is looking that way that he could possibly be leading into that final lap. Here comes the Leakies once more to that inside line. Got to look out for Louis as well. Is he going to be able to get the move done on the pair of them? No, he is not. He's just going to back out on the move on the Leakies. But here he comes on JST. But again, just not able to get the run out of the corner. And this now allows Tom Roberts to maybe get the move done up into...
Well, let's see how close they really can get. JST has just been passed by Balandilek as Igor Piasecki has gone past Isaac Lead as well. He's now up in 5th. As for Aaron Dominguez, he's down into 9th with Oliver not picking up a time penalty. He's not having the race that he would have liked either. Was in the championship fight last season, now in P17. I believe this track definitely not his favorite, so hopefully we will see more from him in the next race as Tom Roberts really starting to amp up the pressure onto Louis Welch. Has been sent off the track just a little bit and picked up a 3-second time penalty as a result. Oh, that's a big crash! Both drivers losing their front wings, and that's a safety car!
Oh, a little bit of controversy here in under the lights in Bahrain. I think the heat and the tension just got a little bit too much, and some contact was made between Tom Roberts and Louis Welch. But surely this sees everybody in for a fresh set of soft compounder tyres. You'll be silly not to come in for a fresh set of tyres. Is Aliki's going to be the first driver to do so? Yes, he is. And look at SD's trying to capitalise on this to get first into the pit lane. Not going to be able to do it though. So you see everybody into the pit lane. Of course, Louis will then serve his 10-second time penalty. And for drivers like Sasha Neeb here, Miff, he was on the fringes of the points. He stayed out for a while on those hards, was hoping for a safety car. And from a driver that started at the back of the grid, he's now going to be into the points with everybody on an even playing field. And could now be looking for at least a few points from this Grand Prix. So if you're Sasha Neeb, you'll be quite happy about this safety car at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think so indeed. As for Aaron Dominguez, he's lost a little bit more time because, of course, he had to wait for Igor to make the pit stop up ahead. As the results are now, as we are in lap 25-29 with the safety car out, Alekis leads the safety car ahead of SD, Igor Piasecki, Damien Curiel, Isaac Leet, who still has that penalty, so he won't be able to get any points tonight, sadly, I believe. Then it's Beisner, Tom 97, who's jumped out of nowhere into P7. Aaron Raminga is still in P8. Hopefully he can make up some positions now with those soft center compounds. Sasha Neeb is up in 9th, but also time penalty. Same can be said about Tom Roberts, so they're going to drop out. That is going to open up the doors for Dagmar Moldovan, Kai Vaso, and Turnimo to pick up some extra points. Well, some points at all, because they are currently out of it, and drivers up ahead do have penalties to their names. I believe that is all 3 seconds, the exception of Benny Fabos, who's got 6, and that is almost correct, as Alessandro Finn also has 6 seconds to his name. All the other drivers 3 seconds. But Max, we're going to see quite the fight to the end of the Grand Prix. I think safety car will be coming in at the end of lap 26, meaning that we will have 3 full laps of racing, of which 2 with DRS, which means that everything up at the top of the grid is up for grabs, and a race win is anyone's game now.
It certainly is. It is in anybody's hands. We'll see what these drivers are going to be able to do. I'm so excited for this safety car restart. A late safety car always brings in more drama, and we could potentially see a shock race winner that we may not have expected at the start of this race, like your JSDs, and then potentially, if maybe some things do get chaotic, Tom 97, who of course started down in 17th place, now up into 7th. He could certainly see himself get a 5-finish at the very least in this Grand Prix. He'll be promoted up into 6th place with Isaac Lee's penalty if things finish as they are. So all he needs to do is pass maybe Lucas Baisner, or if that chaos does happen in front, pick off 2 cars there, and we could see him potentially onto the podium. We're going to have to wait and see, though, of course. Lap 26 of 29. Safety car will surely be in at the end of this lap. Louis Welch has actually come in for an even fresher set of the soft compound tyres. So as everyone's got about 4 or 5% wear on their softs, he will have 2 or 3. And we're going to see how the drivers face this one. A late safety car, always nerve-wracking, and it also does make you go a bit more aggressive and also overdrive that car ever so slightly, knowing how close you are to a potential podium in this Grand Prix, or at least a good result in this race. So, Baden Alikis will lead us away from JSD and Igor Pashevsky. Damien Curiel, who we know is so good at going late on the brakes, he could certainly put a fight into this one. It'll be 3 laps of racing action under the lights to end at the first round of the season, and it is still anybody's game. Will it be Baden Alikis, who started 2nd, coming out on top? Will JSD from all the way back in 14th place win this one? It would be a brilliant drive from the McLaren driver either way, but he's surely got his eyes set on that race victory. But now we're going to see the drivers get underway ever so shortly, as the safety car will be in at the end of this lap.
So indeed, as we predicted, 3 more laps of racing. Lap 27, 28, and then 29 before we have a race winner for the first race of the season here at PSGL PCF4 Season 39, where the first 4 drivers actually are drivers that were not even on the grid last season or were not within the championship fight. So that is very peculiar to see, but also good to see that new blood has been drawn and that new blood is showing up nicely. Balan Delekis is going to lead us away on the start finish straight, and there he goes. He will need to stay ahead of Esti for now. Remember, this first lap there will not be any DRS, there will not be any further safety cars either, because there's not enough time for that in the game. But here we go then. Aleki stays ahead. Damien Curiel is going to try and go for a send on Igor Piaseczki. Manages to make that through. We still see the safety car, of course, in our overview, but that is, of course, not the case, as we have some more overtakes happening further down the field. Tom Roberts has gone through. Even Vaso is trying to make his way up the order. But for a top 3, only Damien Curiel's come through, and Tom Roberts has now gone past Aaron Mimigas as well. He's already gotten 2 drivers on that first lap of restart.
Brilliant restart from Tom Roberts to move himself further up. It's a shame he's got that penalty, or he would be loving life at the moment. And Kai, something's happened to him as he's fallen all the way down the order. He's dropped a good 5 or 6 places in the span of about 4 or 5 corners, has the Mercedes driver. Unfortunately for him, is Raminguez now under pressure from Sasha Neeb as well. The Red Bull looking ever so racy to try and score some more points. Of course, started 19th place. Laps now, looking to try and get up at least 10 places in this Grand Prix. Baden Aliki still leads the way from JSD, Damien Curiel and Igor Pajecki round out your top 4. And now we're going to see this fight rage on for the next 2 laps. Of course, DRS will be enabled once we cross that start-finish line. It will be first used up into turn 4, and this racing will get really spicy indeed. Tom 97 going wide through turns 14 and 15. That just gives him the legs over fellow Tom Roberts behind in the Scuderia Ferrari as we head down that main straight once more. Is anyone going to be looking for a move into that first corner? No, so far. It's all going to be about this run up the hill once more into turn 4. Is anyone going to get the move done? Is anyone going to be looking close enough at a lunge to the inside? Once again, no. Everybody just spread out a little bit too fine as no one going to be able to get a move into turn 4. I say that further back there was a Williams there of Bogdan Moldovan, who's also having a brilliant race from 20th on the grid, just passing Sasha Neeb for 10th place. Bogdan Moldovan, who I said may not have the strongest of races, as there's Sasha Neeb to the inside. Oh, got forced into that move from his teammate Stephen Faso. There was contact between the Red Bull and the Williams. Is he going to look for it again into turn 10? No, Moldovan just able to hold on for now and keep that 10th position, but look further up. Igor Pajecki looking all over the, looming large, all over the back of the rear wing of Damien Curiel. Could we see a move be made for this race, for the podium places? And crucially for JSD, can he get close enough for that move on Baden Alikis?
We're all going to find out now, as there's just 2 more corners to go before we go into the final lap here of round 1 in Bahrain. We are going to go on board with Igor Piasecki, who has to try and make up some places now, because at the end of turn 4, you will want to be where you want to be at the end of this race. JSD is now going to try and make the move onto Baden Alekis. He's already through. Alekis tries to keep a tight line there, but that opens up the door rather for Damien Curiel behind. He's got a better exit to turns 2 and 3. He will go very defensive. Look at that, round the outside goes the Aston Martin driver. He will need to keep some space to the inside. Igor Piasecki is going to look for the inside move instead. He will have to sit up behind, but Damien Curiel has managed to get through in P2. Maybe now then, Piasecki has to go down to the inside. Can't go for a move. It says send down the inside for Alekis, and that allows Igor to come closer and closer, but looks like JSD is trying to get a little bit of legs on them and try and get a bit of a gap that he so desperately needs. Now Igor on the inside, a little bit of pushing. Alekis pushed out a little bit. He gets a 3-second time penalty, but here goes Igor. He gets 1. He gets 2 with the ERS down the inside. A little bit of contact with the Aston Martin, but it looks like he goes side by side. He's almost ahead. Let's hope this does not end in tears, because it's oh so close. He's still the outside. It is gonna end in tears as Damien Curiel is sent spinning, but up ahead JSD stays away from drama and starting P14 on the grid. A horrible qualifying session, but it does not matter to him. The McLaren driver picks up the first race win of the season as he wins in Bahrain.
Brilliantly done from JSD on that final lap to now pick up the race victory from 14th to 1st in the opening round of the season. It just shows qualifying does not mean everything here in PSGL PCF4. Wow, the McLaren driver really coming off strong there. And for Igor Pajecki as well, picking up 2 cars in the span of 2 corners. Brilliantly done from him as well. And then Tom 97 picks up a place on the podium, but that could still easily be taken away from him, unfortunately, due to that Baden Leakey's penalty that could be removed due to being forced off the road. But, wow, what a final lap that was. JSD is your winner here under the lights in Bahrain. 14th to 1st. Igor Pajecki finishes 2nd. Tom 97 from 17th finishes in 3rd. Lucas Baisner 4th. Aaron Bingers 5th. Daniel Curiel 6th. Isaac Lee 7th. Baden Alikis ends up in 8th. Tom Roberts 9th with Stephen Fazo rounding out your top 10. Bogdan Moldovan just wasn't able to hold on to get a top 10 finish. Then it's Tintor Nemo in 12th. Then it's Kai 13th. 14th, Patrick Datmeyer. 15th, Sasha Neve. Oliver Knott in 16th. 17th for Louis Welsh. Just describes how horrid and torrid that race really was and how unlucky he really did get. Daniel Gottschalk finishes in 18th. 19th with Benny Fabos. And then, unfortunately, Alessandro Finn rounds out your finishers. But for JSD, sheer delight under the lights. of the season, a comeback drive from a disappointing qualifying to a race win in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, but also for Tom 97, starting P17 on the grid, getting third in a race after being invisible for most of the race. Then we saw him pop up in 7th, and then suddenly at the end of the race, he finishes in P3, so great race by him. As for Igor Piasecki, we both predicted he was going to come through in 2nd, so we got that one right. The rest, of course, were totally wrong, but that doesn't matter. We got one right. As for Aaron Dominguez, he manages to get back into P5, which is good. But good news for Aaron is that he also picks up the fastest lap. So he gets a point for pole position, he gets a point for fastest lap, and he of course gets the point for finishing in 5th. So that does net him a couple extra points to stay closer within that fight. But I think, Max, his strategy, it was a very risky move, but the fact that nobody else did it did bite him in the butt ever so slightly. As for ST and Tom 97, great recovery all the way through. And for Igor Piasecki, he just manages to stay calm at all times, keep it close all the way. But in the final lap, there was no passing JST. As for Balanilekis, that penalty is very sad for him, but let's see if he can indeed appeal that later on, as we, of course, are going to prepare for the race next week in Brazil. But wow, Max, it seemed like a pretty straightforward race all the way into the safety car, but that safety car really came out of nowhere. I think we might have lost Max. I see him, but I don't hear him. But indeed, that safety car did come very unexpected towards the end of the race. We saw it happen with a clear view. I think that is going to well, require another stewards inquiry. The stewards will have to look at that incident for sure, as I do believe it is going to get reported. We'll have probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 reports coming through that the stewards will need to review before next week, February 27th, as we head into Interlagos. Then, it looks like, at least for now, this first race, we don't have any interviews. But another big congrats to JST, who's managed to start 14th, make it all the way to 1st, and take the first race win of the season. Of course, lead the championship heading into round 2 next week. It looks like Max is still stuck, so I don't think we will see Max returning. By the looks of it, there won't be any interviews either, so that means that we are going to round off this stream for tonight as well. So thank you very much for tuning in with us once more here in Season 39. PCF4 is always very interesting here at PSGL. Another huge shout out to GT Omega, our sponsor for this series all the way throughout. And then next week, we are going to be back with round 2 in Brazil, Interlagos. Definitely a race you don't want to miss. Potentially the best race of the season. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week. Good night.